bit worried about Joe being up here. He said he's got some lines for this press conference. I was going to say, I'll say it anyway, Joe. I said we've got some great fighters up here, some great personalities, some legends, and we've got Joe Gallagher as well. But I'm sure you'll get me back later on, Joe. But we can't wait for this fight. It's delighted to be co-promoting this fight with our good friend Callie Sowland. Massive fight for Marcus Morrison, of course, but also the return of Chris Eubank Jr., one of the biggest names from the British fight scene for a long time, of course, teaming up with the legend that is Roy Jones Jr. Welcome, Roy. Great to have you in the bubble. Callie, I'm going to pass to you first of all. You experienced a great run with Chris in the World Boxing Super Series, now in partnership with Roy Jones, of course. And I know the plan is to look at the big fight for the summer, but these guys, you know, Joe and Marcus, bang up for this fight. This is a lot more dangerous, we feel, than many do in this country.
And so they should be. That's what boxing's about. It's about opportunities. But, you know, it's exciting to be working with Roy. What a legend, one of my absolute all-time favourite fighters. But Roy came in as a bonus because we were talking with Junior before, and we weren't even sure the relationship with Roy and Chris during our discussions because everything was in lockdown. They were working behind closed doors. And you know, Junior's one of those talents, they only come around, or personalities and talents that come around so often. And, you know, he reminds me of a throwback to the days in the UK growing up of, you know, where his dad performed, you know, where Ben performed, where Collins performed, where Naz performed. And for me, he's a combination of all that. He's a throwback fighter. He's someone who's got the charisma, the warrior-like approach of his father. He's got the bang of Ben. He's got the speed of Nassim Hamed. He's got the set on him like Collins. You know, you've got everything you need in a fighter. And now he's got Roy in the corner. He's got Wasserman boxing behind him, a powerhouse. And, you know, it's not here. You know, it's no disrespect to the other side here today, but we are here to take over. And Saturday's the first step on a massive, massive year.
Thanks, Keller. Joe, I'll start with you. First thing that I noticed about you this week is full of confidence. You know, I feel like you're here with your two charges almost as the underdogs. I think you love that. You know, you're in Manchester. Marcus is in Manchester as well. And there's a real feeling. The first thing you come over to me and said when I turned up was, you know, Natasha's going to knock out Katie Taylor. I'm telling you, he's going to do you back. You're charged up for this fight. Both fights, but you really believe your man has a great chance here to cause what would be a major upset.
Yeah, thanks, and good to see Callum. Not seen him for a good while.
See you, Joe.
Yeah, no, listen, it's a huge opportunity, and in my opinion, listen, it's got to be a rough, tough rugged type of fight, all action, and then obviously you've got Roy Jones Jr. What a legend as a fighter, but not only that, people don't know, but what a real gentleman outside the sport as well. Fantastic to have him here in Manchester. All right, Roy, he's always gracious, always kind, always has time for people, and most probably not people know that, but what a gentleman he is. So it's good to have you in Manchester, Roy. Welcome to Manchester. And having him involved has added that little bit of spice. Marcus Morrison has been at this arena 8 or 9 times now. We pushed him once before with Wellborn. Listen, it was man against boy at the time, do you understand? Wellborn then won the British title. He had a win then in Italy, went over as the underdog in Italy, had a good win, showed he had power late as well as early. Chris Eubank Jr. It's hard, this fight, because I've said in interviews, I'm a huge fan of Chris Eubank Jr. I do like the kid, I like him, he reminds me like Callum Johnson last week. He's just coming for it, he's having a straightener with you. Whether you like it or not, it's a fight. And that's what we like, and I think that's what boxing missing these days, fighters that want to fight, and this kid can fight. But with Marcus Morrison, he likes to fight as well, and this is going to be a good fight. And Marcus with him, he carries power in both hands. We know he's a massive underdog, but when anybody in a fight can punch, you've always got to be wary of that and respectful of that. And Marcus Morrison on Saturday night will be going in there and hoping to land. And if he lands, it's what happens next. Can he finish it? We don't know. Can he survive? Can Chris survive it? We don't know. But we will have a moment in this fight, and then how the fight plays out after that remains to be seen.
Of course, in the World Boxing Super Series, you know, Chris was in that. You would have studied him as well. Marcus got to be sharp early in this fight. Great performance in Italy last time out as well, but both very sharp punchers in here, both with great speed. Should be a very exciting fight.
Yeah, listen, we had Marcus this morning at breakfast, just going over a few Chris's old fights early on. Very sharp grows. Spike O'Sullivan, the hammering he gave him in, I think, round 2 of a barrage of shots. we've had Chris in the gym in the past years ago. I know Chris, I can't talk bad of him. He's a good fighter and carries himself well, and he's a personality in boxing. But when the bell goes, it's down to Marcus and down to Chris. Chris is going to try and implement things that Roy has taught him, and that'll be it. They're talking about all these big fights and everything else, and they're entitled to and they're expected to. But sometimes you can take your eye off the ball if the wrong kid at the wrong time. You could come unstuck. And I'm not going to say they've not overlooked Marcus Morrison, but if they have, they could come unstuck on Saturday night.
One question about fighting behind closed doors. You've done it on numerous occasions in the bubble with your charges. Do you think that could play a part into the performance of Chris Eubank Jr.? He's a showman. He loves the big occasions, the crowds as well. How have you found that experience for fighters behind closed doors?
Well, you've seen it. Obviously, we were involved in the female fight of the year last year, Terry Harper and Natasha Jonas. Terry was used to having a huge crowd. We've seen it recently with Josh Warrington losing without his crowd. But I think for Eubank Jr., that the showman that he is and the crowd doesn't matter to Chris. Chris would go and fight Marcus Morrison in that car park over there. That's just what's bred in him. He's just a fighter. Whether there's a crowd there or not, he'll perform. And he isn't the type of man that say, oh, there wasn't a crowd there, that's why I didn't perform. That isn't in his gene. That's not in his blood. His father, him. They're a fighting family and fighting men, and that won't pay any relevance to this fight whatsoever.
Thanks, Joe. Before we go to the fighters, Roy, welcome. Some nice words from Joe there as well. Congratulations on your recent comeback as well against Mike Tyson. You look excited to be working with Junior. He's a great talent. He's someone that people feel has not quite yet achieved what he can achieve in the sport, and you're a big believer that this young man can go on and win world titles in the sport.
Yeah, I'm a big believer. Thank you all for having me. Thank you for everything you said, Joe. I really love to see so many different people. Good to see David. I haven't seen you in a while, so I mean both you, David. So I just really love the atmosphere. I love being here. And for me and Joe, it's like we outside the ring, we have to play mental chess as well. So we're here just to try to give our athletes the best opportunities to go out and showcase what they are. This kid has the ability to be anything he wants to be in boxing, and I'm sure his kid feels the same. So when you get a horse that can win the Kentucky Derby, you just got to get him with the right trainer in the right situation, and the sky becomes the limit. And I think that's what has happened with him. He's been doing so much on his own, and he got so far on his own that you have to take off your hat to what he did already. But now the fact that he showed up at my gym and he stayed there shows me that he definitely wants to get better. He wants to go to the top of the heat. He wants to win the Triple Crown, not just the Kentucky Derby. So I'm so glad to see him getting this opportunity. So glad to see Marcus getting the opportunity because it's a great opportunity for him as well. And I just think you put on a great fight card. I'm looking forward to being a part of it. Thank you for having me.
Just before you go to Chris, I remember sitting in the Manchester Arena with you at the press conference after. I don't know if you remember, but after the Groves fight, and you had that terrific last round onslaught. And I said to you, get the corner sorted. You've got everything. You've got every asset, mineral it needs to go and rule this game. And, I think that the fact that the link-up, the dynamic duo, as I think it's going to be, was the perfect move, perfect timing. Just to add that in there. I remember having that conversation at the press conference afterwards.
I remember.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gary. And finally, Roy, quite a strange world that we live in, this boxing game, where, of course, once upon a time you were looking for the fights with Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank Sr., but you didn't think at that point you'd end up training his son.
Never, ever. You never know what God has in store for you. That's why you just never say never, because you never know. Now it's like, because we didn't become rivals or enemies, I'm able to help his son. You understand? So.
Great story. Thanks, Roy. Marcus, over to you. What an opportunity. It came, I spoke to Calla. He said, we want a great fight. We want a great test. I said, you need a Brit. We're in Manchester. Marcus Morrison, he was the guy. The opportunity comes. You were ready. You accepted the challenge. Excited for Saturday night.
Yeah, this is, a massive fight for me, and I'm well aware this is sort of levels of above what I've been in with before. And when I got the phone call, listen, there was no way I was going to turn down this fight. It's a great fight, and I think it's going to be full of excitement come Saturday.
Obviously, for a long time, you were seen as a big potential future star of British boxing. You lost that fight to Wellborn, and you had some defeats on the way. You come back with a fantastic win in Italy last time out. But there's a lot of you that feels like you do have the levels to keep moving in the game. A lot of people felt like you had that potential early on, and now you get a chance to prove it against someone that's been inactive. We talked about Bivol against Richards and the argument of inactivity, etc. I know you haven't been the most active during lockdown as well, but behind closed doors, everything's set up. We're in Manchester. This would be some victory for you.
Yeah, like I said, like inactive, I don't think it's going to play a massive part in this fight. I think, you know, if you're a true athlete, a true professional, you'll stay in the gym, and, you know, even if you've not got a fight, you'll stay in and you'll work on your craft. And I believe both of us, you know, that's those type of fighters. You know, I believe Chris has stayed in the gym, and if he's not been active, sort of under the lights at least, he's, you know, been in the gym and staying busy. And, you know, it's the same with me. And yeah, listen, I just can't wait, and trust me, the fans are in for a treat.
Chris, welcome back. Good to see you on the card. I watched an interview with you last night, and I saw a more mature Chris Eubank. Don't take that in the wrong way. It was nice. I thought it was a great interview, very humble. You know, you talked about the mistakes you've made. You talked about, you know, your upbringing, your goals in life as well. You're still edgy. You still want it bad. You still got that little chip on your shoulder. You still got the same fighting spirit inside you. You've been through a lot. You know, you had criticism. You had ups and downs. You had wins. You had defeats. You had huge fights. And you're here now for another run at it, another run to become world champion.
Yeah, I mean, that's what this fight is about, to see if that source is still there, you know. It's, you know, I haven't fought a 10-round fight in a long time. I've been out of the ring for a long time. You know, my last fight was, you know, in New York, end of 2019. It lasted 2 rounds. So the real last fight I had was February 2019. So, you know, this is my opportunity to get back in the ring and showcase everything that me and Roy have been working on over the last year and a half. And, you know, we've done a lot of work. You know, I have been inactive in terms of not being in the ring fighting, but in terms of what I've been doing in the ring with Roy at his gym, super active, you know, every day, week in, week out, learning, improving. You know, I think I'm one of the only fighters in the game that can say that during COVID I actually improved as a fighter. You know, most fighters probably either stayed the same or got worse. I think I've ascended. So it's just up for me now to go out there and show off the skills.
I know that Calla had that conversation with you, but it was always a feeling within the sport that you needed that training, you know, to really funnel your talents that you had, the raw talents that you had. I know for a long sort of time you sort of felt I could do this, you know, not on my own, but, you know, I don't need to bring in anyone else. I have what it takes. I know what I've got. It's just a better understanding of boxing now that you needed to take those steps to reach your goal of becoming world champion.
Yeah, you know, what I was doing worked for me for a long time. But I got to a point where I realized that once you reach a certain level, you know, you need as much support as you can get. You need as many eyes on you as possible. You know, going into the gym on your own schedule, doing what you want, controlling the gym, you know, it's not necessarily the best way to do things, especially if there's somebody that can guide you better than you can guide yourself. I had a very hard time finding that in a trainer, which is why I chose not to have one for so long. But in meeting Roy, I found someone that I fully trust. You know, when he tells me to do something, I can't second guess it. You know, I can go on YouTube or watch a tape and he's doing the same thing he just told me to do in the ring. So it's been, you know, it's been a very eye-opening experience. You know, people say, you know, you wish you'd met him a few years before, and you know, I'm not going to say that, you know, things would have been different, but you know, everything happens for a reason, and I'd say that this is the perfect time that we met during COVID, and yeah, I'm very happy.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Calla, Roy, Joe, Marcus. Look forward to a great fight here on Saturday night. Chris Eubank Jr. against Marcus Morrison. Gentlemen, I think if we could all have a photo up here, it would be nice, and the fighters to the front, please.